This is my entire fantasy physical TBR. I don't even know how many books this is and I don't want to count, but let's go through each and every one of them. A Dark and Drowning Tide. This is a sapphic dark academia adjacent fantasy story with one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. Modern Divination. This is also dark academia and it's about witches. I know this has a really close cult following, so I can't wait to read it, but I want to wait until like spooky season. I also want to wait until spooky season to read The Bone Orchard. This is also about a witch. She is tasked by the king, who is on his deathbed, to find out which of his sons murdered him. Realm Breaker. This is the first in a YA trilogy, and it's like a found family fellowship type of story inspired by Lord of the Rings. Painted Devils is the sequel to Little Thieves, which I read last year and like loved. I am going to devour this. The Sword of Kaigan. I have only heard amazing praise for this book, and last year I read Blood over Brighthaven, also by the same author, and it blew me away. This is one of those books that I know is going to change my life. The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I have wanted to read this for so long that I don't even remember what it's about, but trust, I'm ready to obsess. The Spear Cuts Through Water is one that I am kind of scared of because it's one of those like ambiguous fantasy stories, and sometimes I need things to be painted out for me. But also, this is a book that I have not heard a single bad thing about. Foundry Side. I've heard that this is for fans of Six of Crows. I'm a fan of Six of Crows. Dark Rise. This has to do with light and dark magic. I have to say, I'm kind of over these illustrated covers, but I like this one. Black Sun. Don't know what this is about, but it's indigenous fantasy. I know Rebecca Roanhorse is a very beloved fantasy author, so I would like to start somewhere. The Lies of Loch Lamora. This is another like Six of Crows-esque fantasy about a group of criminals who do nefarious crimes. Also has a very dedicated cult fan base. The Mask of Mirrors. Similar to Loch Lamora. I think this is like Venetian inspired. I don't know anything about this. I just got it because it was getting some buzz on TikTok. Y'all are gonna hate that I haven't read this already, but Jade City. This is an epic Eastern Mafia inspired fantasy series. I promise I will read it. I have an arc of Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I grew up with Shadowhunters. I love Shadowhunters, and this is Cassandra Clare's like first non-Shadowhunters work, and it's an adult fantasy novel. I promise I will read this at some point. It's just, as you can see, there's a lot that I need to read. Paladin's Grace. It's about a paladin, if you can't tell, but I'm really ready for all of the cozy, fun vibes. Kaikei, I think is how you pronounce it. This is a retelling of a myth from Indian folklore, I'm pretty sure. Any sort of like feminist retelling of a myth or a story, I'm there for. Similarly, Babylonia. Don't know anything about this. Also, I'm actually not even 100% sure it's fantasy. I'm gonna learn some stuff about history reading this. The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi is about a middle-aged woman pirate. You had me at pirates. And the last 3 books are the Daevabad trilogy, which is a fantasy series that takes place in 18th century Cairo, Egypt. And I've been meaning to read these for so long.